Hey Snappers, this is Shackles and I'd like to show you a very cool deck that I've been playing in the last few days. I haven't been online for a couple of weeks and now the new patch arrived. I saw this discard deck, which is an archetype that I really love, and I had to try it. And I was actually surprised how strong this deck seems to be. I'm not super high level, but I've been wrecking most of my opponents in many games. So yeah, I'd like to show you a very in-depth guide to this deck. It's not super hard to play, but there are some quirks that you have to be aware of, and hopefully I can help you steal some wins with that. So basically, this deck centers around the discard mechanic, which of course puts Apocalypse in our deck. Whenever we discard him, we get him back with 4 power. And the other card that we want to discard is Swarm. Whenever we discard this, it will add 2 0-cost copies of itself to our hand. Keep in mind that if you buff this, the buff will stay, so the copies will have the buff as well. And then, of course, to trigger these cards, we need some discarders. The easy one is Blade, which just discards a random card. We have Lady Sif, who discards the highest cost card, which is usually Apocalypse if you have him. Sometimes you can discard a Swarm with that as well. And the last and most important one probably is Hellcow. It discards 2 cards from your hand. And all of these discarders have one thing in common: they have really great stats for their cost. So a 6 power card for 2 mana is obviously really strong, because discard itself is considered as a drawback mechanic. But if we can make use of this discard, they get even stronger. So the general idea is that we win one lane with Apocalypse and the Swarm copies, or sometimes just Apocalypse, or sometimes just the Swarm copies, but in a perfect game we drop both on turn 6, which could be something like, I don't know, 20 up power, which is insane, to be honest. And of course then we have to win another lane. And for this we have some lower cost threats. We have Morbius, who is also very happy if whenever we discard a card. I think he's usually around 6 power, which is fine. That's Hellcow level for 2-drop. Then we have the Collector, which I was surprised to see in the list, because initially I thought we only have Swarm to trigger him, but that's actually not true. Whenever we discard Apocalypse, we get the copy back from the discard pile, which is of course not our deck, so that triggers him as well. If, however, we really discard Swarm, we get 2 copies back, which triggers him twice. That makes him a pretty good powerhouse in this deck. I'd say he's also around 6 to 8, sometimes even more power in this deck. And the last one is Angela, just a stat stick. We can drop her early or sometimes late even. We will usually have our 2 lanes that we play fully occupied, so she will get 3 triggers, sometimes more, and then she has really great stats. The other card that has combo potential with her is Nightcrawler, because if we play Angela and the Nightcrawler, of course we trigger her ability, but later in the game we can move Nightcrawler away from Angela and play another card in Nightcrawler's spot, so that will trigger her twice, which basically is a light upgrade to Angela as well. The other thing about Nightcrawler, of course, is that he can sometimes steal some locations. For example, if you have the one where you can't play any cards on a location, Nightcrawler can just move there, and sometimes it's enough to win an entire location. Then we have Scarlet Witch, and I think we need her in this deck, because there are some locations that really mess up our game otherwise. One is, for example, the one that extends the game to 7 turns. That is something we do not want, because usually by turn 6 all of our slots in the 2 lanes we are competing in will be occupied, so we cannot play anything in turn 7, which gives our opponent a free turn. So that is a location you definitely want to Scarlet Witch away. There are others, of course. Anything that blocks turn 6 plays if you have to play that lane, or you can imagine lots of locations we don't really want. And the last card in this, no, the last 2 cards in this deck are Nakia, which of course buffs your entire hand. That is super nice if you can put a buff on Swarm, because again his copies will have the buff as well. But it's an overall strong card. It has only 1 stat, however, and that is really important. You want to always play Nakia in the 1 lane that you intend to lose. Remember that? And basically, when you play this deck, the thing you want to do first, always, is to find out which lane you want to lose. And that is where you will play Nakia. If you have her in your starting hand, you never play anything on turn 1 or 2, basically. If you don't have her, you can play early, but to be honest, I usually don't. I just passed the 2 turns in most of the cases, because that gives me more information about the locations I'm playing on, and also what my opponent is doing. And sometimes the enemies play strong cards very early, for example a Sunspot or an Angela, a Collector, something like that. And if you just wait and don't play anything, because you don't really have to, you can just move away from that location in your mind and say, okay, he played his Angela here, so this is the lane I don't want to win. And then later you can play Nakia on that lane, if you draw her or have her. So basically, remember, play Nakia always on your losing lane, because she has bad stats. And if you play her on the 2 lanes you are competing in, she will be bad for you, because you need the space for stronger cards. And the last card in this deck is America Chavez. She has 2 purposes. One is she thins your deck. So basically you have 1 card less that you don't want to draw. You could put it like that. The other thing is she's a backup in case you don't draw Apocalypse, which happens. If you don't know, you usually see each card in your deck around 2/3 of all games that you play, statistically speaking. So there will be games where you don't have Apocalypse, but if you then have Swarm, for example, and you can create a lot of Swarm copies, on turn 6 you just play Chavez instead of Apocalypse and all the Swarm copies, and in most cases this will be enough. She's not as strong as Apocalypse, obviously, but strong enough with the Swarm copies to overcome most other 6-drops in the game. Yeah, that's basically it. Again, try to find out which lane not to play in your first 3 turns every game. Only play on turn 1 and 2 if you have a lot of your low-cost threats. So for example, if you have Nightcrawler, Morbius, Collector and Angela, worst case, in your hand, then you of course start playing in turn 1 or 2, because otherwise you won't have enough mana to play all of them later on. That is very unlikely though. Most of the time you will have some discard cards, maybe even one of the big threats and some of the lower threats, and then you can just play them in turn 4, because in turn 4 you can play two drops, so basically, for example, Collector and Morbius or Angela and Morbius. If you have Nightcrawler and you're starting it, you can always basically play him in turn 1. You don't always have to, but it's okay most of the time, I would say. Then on turn 5, play all of your discard cards. That is super important. Turn 5 is your discard turn. You play all discarders that you have. So in the best case scenario, that is a Hellcow, Blade, Hellcow, and Lady Sif in the correct order, of course, depending on the threat you have in hand. And then you will trigger these two Swarm and Apocalypse many times if things go well. Then on turn 6, of course, play either Apocalypse or Chavez and the Swarm copies that you might have. I also would like to talk about some of the locations that you might encounter in your games. I called them bad locations. You can get around some of them, but they definitely require your attention and can make your games pretty hard. So Avengers Compound on turn 5, all cards must be played here. That is usually okay. It just means that this is the lane where you will put all your discarders on turn 5, because you have to do that on turn 5. So be aware of that. Don't clutter the lane, and you will usually be fine, I would say. The bar with no name, whoever has the least power here wins. This just means either Scarlet Witch it or make this the lane that you will lose, because you have no way to compete for that lane actively, obviously. Cloning bets, when you play a card here, add a copy to your hand. I wouldn't engage that, to be honest. It can be good in some cases, but it makes your discards much harder to perform. There's also one that adds a copy you play on the location to another location. This is basically a double-edged sword for you. You can play Apocalypse on that on turn 6, but I wouldn't play anything else on it, to be honest, because it takes away your space and makes the locations hard to predict. So if you have that, just play Apocalypse there. That can win you games, obviously, but be careful with that. Then all the block locations that prevent you from playing there, they are usually fine, depending on the other locations. If you can just ignore that location, do it. Just don't play that, make this your losing lane. But here you would have the problem that you can't play Nakia there. So if you draw her, then maybe make this your discard lane on turn 5, which would also be fine. Danger Room is obvious. It's okay to kill Nakia, of course, because she will trigger her on reveal ability first. If she dies afterwards, you don't care, but don't play anything else there. Strange Academy is a tricky one. I don't like it, to be honest. Because again, this makes it very hard to set your losing lane reliably. If you have it and you can't Scarlet Witch it away, maybe you can win some games with that by ignoring it until a very late stage in the game, or maybe if you didn't draw Nakia at all and she's not on the field, then you don't have the problem that you move strong cards onto her location later. It sometimes makes you lose games, but it's not the worst in the world. Dream Dimension, on turn 5, cards cost 1 more. Yeah, that's a biggie. That prevents you from discarding, unless you have, say, Hellcow and Blade, which you still could play on turn 5, then you definitely have to Scarlet Witch away this. So see if you can do your discard shenanigans with that on the field, otherwise you have to remove it. Dark Dimensions cards here are not revealed until the game ends. Yeah, that's never good for you. There's basically not a single card that profits from that. So this is either Scarlet Witch or lose that lane, and if you can't, then concede. Then very, very bad for your deck are the locations that spawn minions for you. The one that spawns a giant monster with 9 power is okay, of course, because it's stronger than your drops, but the ninja with -2 and especially the squirrels, that's really bad because it messes up your space and you won't be able to put your power on the field. If I get Central Park, I usually just concede because you have no mechanic to remove the squirrels, no carnage or something. Shadowland can sometimes work if you can just make this your losing lane. Limbo I mentioned before, you never want that because you won't be able to play anything on turn 7. So Scarlet Witch that away, or if you see that your opponent, which most of the time is true, can play something on turn 7, it maybe might force you to concede as well. And last but not least, the worst of them all, Weird World. Yeah, basically makes everything a clown fiesta. If you get that and you can't prevent it with Scarlet Witch, just concede. And I actually forgot the really worst of them all, which is that on turn 6 you swap hands with your enemy, which means you give him all your Swarm copies and Apocalypse. So if you get that and not Scarlet Witch, just insta-concede. You can never win this game. That sounds like a lot of threats to your deck, which is true, of course, like for every deck, but I think it's okay. Again, in Snap, there is no... basically, conceding is not a bad thing because you can concede for low cost and win for high cost. And because you play so slow in the beginning, most enemies will be very keen to snap you. And then you turn the game around in turn 5 and 6, which they sometimes don't see coming. So I often play for 4 or 8 cubes, and then it doesn't really matter if I concede like every 4th or 5th game, where I don't draw a Swarm or Apocalypse, or where I get really bad locations. So yeah, don't let that drag you down. It doesn't make the deck bad, to say, because every deck has weak spots, and I think these are pretty good to handle. There are some other heroes though that will also really mess you up. The worst one is probably Wave, because if the enemy waves on turn 4, then all your discarders will cost 4 mana in turn 5, and then you can only play one of them. If you happen to have Hell Cow and a very good hand, it can work, but most of the time it prevents you from multiple discards, which usually results in a loss. So many games where I encounter Wave, I just give up afterwards. The other one is Debris, which who spawns rocks on your side of the board and the enemies, but it will really mess you up. It's the same as Central Park squirrels, basically. So if you see Debris a lot in your games, you should not play this discard deck, to be honest, because that's the hardest counter one can have. Of course, then there are some games where people lock down lanes with Storm or Professor X, which could be bad. But yeah, that's basically, that are the really big threats. And of course, Shang-Chi happened like twice or 3 times to me, where the enemy just obliterated my Apocalypse on turn 6 with Shang-Chi. But yeah, I mean, for that to happen, he has to draw it, he has to have it, and he has to be losing the lane where you put Apocalypse onto on turn 6. Because otherwise his will reveal first and not kill your Apocalypse. But yeah, if that happens, you just lose. That's just how it is. Alright, now let's jump into some games. After turn 4, whoever is winning here draws 2 cards. Yeah, that's okay. We don't have Nakia this time, so we could decide to play early to try to get this lane. But what are we going to play here? Nightcrawler now, Angela next turn. It will only be 3 power on turn 2. That's not enough to win the location if the enemy really decides to compete for it. So right now I won't play Nightcrawler. Let's see what he gets in here. Sunspot, okay. That's okay, we can just ignore that. We can also fuck this up for him with the Scarlet Witch. Question is, do we want to play... I mean, the better play would be to just play Angela. Guess I'll play her here. Because right now I'm thinking I will play this location for sure. Oh, okay. This changes everything. We don't want to see that. So we are going to use Scarlet Witch on this location. We can do that now. And then we can also play the Nightcrawler here, because we can move it away and then get another trigger on Angela. And right now I'm thinking we will skip the first lane, because the enemy already put a lot of stuff there. Collector and Sunspot are strong threats. And if we can just play around them, there's no need for us to bother with those. Oh shit. Okay, this is not a location we wanted to see. And again we have the problem that we have to draw a threat. Oh yeah, thanks. Okay, so this is great. We could actually do it now, but there's not really a reason to do so. So we will just skip turn 4, which is awkward. Give you that. Oh, and the enemy is totally overcommitting on the first lane, as you can see, which is good for us. He also has an Apocalypse at 14, so we have to keep track of that. Okay, that was a great draw. Yeah, and basically now we play all we get. Sif will discard Apocalypse, then we will discard both our cards, and then we will discard once again. I'll leave Nightcrawler here for now. We can move him away in the last turn and make space to play something else into Angela. So let's see if he gets the Swarm action too. Oh yeah, okay. He has 5 power swarms. That's not good for us. That could actually turn out to be a very close game. Our Apocalypse is on par now, but the swarms are weaker than his. The additional copies don't really help us here. So I guess what we do is we play Apocalypse here, because this is the closest lane and this is our strongest play. We move the Nightcrawler here because it's weaker than the swarm copies. We play 2 swarms here. The question is, are we going to win this? It's yeah, I think we win the middle lane, and honestly 8, 11, 14, that is the power of his Apocalypse. So he can tie the right lane. We play the swarm copy for overall power. This will be a very close game, I guess. Okay, but he only played 1 card at the right side, which is awkward. So I guess we won that. I would have expected him to play everything on the right, and it would have been enough actually. Alright, this location doesn't bother us. We got Nakia first, so she will probably be the first card we play in this game. Okay, and actually in turn 3 we play Nakia, 4 we play Morbius and Collector, so if we want to play Scarlet Witch we basically have to do it now, or we will not have enough mana to do so. I guess we don't have to. But yeah, let's do it anyways. Oh, okay, that's nice. Okay, lucky that we didn't get a really bad location here, otherwise this would have been a clear mistake. So, okay, when you play a card here, destroy it. We can actually play Nakia here and sacrifice her, basically, because we only care about her effect. I'm pretty sure we'll win this middle location. Because even Nightcrawler on his side won't help with that. Killmonger. Destroy all one cost. Okay. Alright, so we got another low threat. I think what's going to happen is we are hopefully discarding Apocalypse at least once. So definitely Morbius. The question is, do we take Collector or Angela? We can trigger Angela more reliably, but Collector has higher ceiling. I don't see that many discards this game, to be honest. So here I'm going with Angela and Morbius. And if we don't draw anything good, like Hellcow, or even if we draw Hellcow, we can play the Collector next turn. Alright, that's good. So now we play the Collector. We play Lady Sif and Blade, doesn't really matter. Buffing both our Morbius and Collector and the Apocalypse, which is already huge. See how we are ahead already. Oh, Hobgoblin, okay. That's usually a card that's really bad for us. Because we can never remove it, really. But, to be honest, there's no way he takes the right location, and super hard to take the middle. So I will just play Apocalypse here. Maybe he's even enough to win this. But even if he takes the left location, I think we're good here. Can he really put that? Oh, no. Oh, he really got it. Wow. Oh, wow. I did not see that one coming, I have to admit. Jesus. The Dracula got the power from his Apocalypse. And he was actually... Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, that might have been a misplay on my side. I should just have played Apocalypse on the right side, I guess. Okay, that is the location we don't like. So very likely that we will not play this lane, basically. We could play Nightcrawler now. And I'm actually gonna do it. because we don't have Nakia yet. And it might even out our mana curve later. On turns, oh, that's bad for us. So that is definitely a location we want to Scarlet Witch away. Yeah, we can either play Angela now and Scarlet Witch and whatever next turn, or we play both at turn 4, but if we draw another threat next turn, we get problems with the Angela procs, so I'm going to play her now. But for sure, Scarlet Witch goes in the middle. Ooh, ouch. Okay. So slight change of plans. We will play Nakia here. Or no. Actually... oh shit. That's really a bad location for us. I'm still giving up the left one and just hope not to proc the danger room much. But yeah, this is not very good for us, obviously. We have to get rid of the vault though, because otherwise we lose that instantly. It would be okay to discard once now, but there's a chance that we draw Morbius or Collector next turn, so let's not do that. Oh shit. Okay, so now you see 3 of the bad... oh wow, 3 of the bad locations that we don't want to see. But apparently they were also bad for our enemy and he conceded just before I wanted to. That also happens. But yeah, that was a prime example of what you do not want to see with this deck. If he had played till the end, there would have been no way for us to win it. Ugh, that's also bad, but we have the Scarlet Witch. So we could play that or just leave it, depending on what's going to be revealed next. Okay, the enemy plays right into that, maybe it's a bot. Happened twice can be great for us, if we get a threat, of course. So yeah, I'm thinking Angela here should be safe in almost any case. And if we draw like the Collector, we will have one low drop too much to play them all otherwise. Okay, Bucky makes this a competitive lane now, and I will just skip that for sure. Oh, okay, that is dangerous for us. Gotta be careful with that. So right now we have Civ and Blade. They will cost 3 and 2, which is fine. We can play both. So right now we can build up our threats. Or we could Scarlet Witch that away, which is also fine. But to be honest, right now there's no need to do that. If we draw the Hell Cow as well, then we will Scarlet Witch next turn to play all of our discards. Okay, so that's Nakia. It would actually be good to play her in the middle. Can I do that? I will get swarm copies, lots of them. So I'm basically losing 2 strength, but I'm getting these for the buffs. So, and buffing the swarm is actually amazing. So I think there is no way I'm not doing that here. Next turn we play Civ and Blade. Hopefully not discarding the Scarlet Witch, which would be unfortunate, but that's a coin flip I'm willing to take. I think the double on reveal is just too good with Nakia. Too good to pass. And hopefully we will discard Swarm at least once. Okay. Nightcrawler is unfortunate. Oh boy. Yeah. It's 50-50 for Civ to discard Swarm. If we do, then it's better to resolve the Blade the turn afterwards. And they will both trigger twice, so yeah, that's actually fine. That should be fine. Could make quite a lot of copies. Great. And now we have bigger chances to discard those with the Blade. Okay, unfortunate, but one more. So we will get the America Chavez next turn, and this is our turn 6, which is big. We are already winning 2 locations by quite a margin, so yeah, definitely snapping here. 7 here will be enough. We can do it like this. And that is an easy win. Unless... no, not really. Not even that will save him. So that was not even close. And we didn't have Apocalypse, so you see why we have America Chavez in our deck. She's the substitute in case we don't draw him. Okay, let's do one more. And I think then you should have seen most ways these games can go. Okay, so we have Nakia this time. Atlantis fucked us over last time. Okay, Hellcow, Morbius, Apocalypse is already great. Do not happen. Okay, that means this is a lane we do not want to touch. Right now I would play Nakia on 3 and Morbius and Nightcrawler on 4, but if we draw another threat, we will have... we won't have space for the Nightcrawler, but in the discard turn we only have Hellcow so far, so that's fine. I'm not playing anything here. And try to decide which lane to lose. Right now it's the middle. Which also means we can, yeah, we cannot play Nakia there, unfortunately. Oh, it's Scorpion, okay. Oh, shit. Okay, this changes everything, actually. Can we win that? In 2 turns. I mean, Hellcow, Morbius is strong. And then now we play Angela, Nightcrawler. Interesting. That is a location you don't see very often. Scorpion for sure hurts us right now. Is it gonna be enough? So Morbius Hellcow. Morbius will be a +4, a 3 drop. So actually, Civ is stronger. We don't really care if we discard. So we can put her here. We can move Nightcrawler here to get the buff and move Hellcow here, which would probably be enough. If he puts something here, he will lose the other locations. I'll do it like this. It's a gamble. It's a total gamble. Okay, great. I mean, it's okay to play this because our discard cards have really great stats, and we had 2 of those in hand. And apparently this was enough to overpower him. Okay, so let's do one more because this one was weird and not really playing into our mechanic. Okay, we don't care about that one. Happen twice means discards or double Nakia. Psylocke. Okay, he's playing some kind of ramp deck. I go for the Nakia here. Aha, okay. So she's a non-factor. But no, actually she's not, because we have Swarm. So we'll put our discarders in the middle, obviously. So we are playing the middle. And the question is, do we want to play around Psylocke? For stats, I think each and every one of our cards will be above that. So play Collector, Morbius. Next time we play Civ, Witch Crawler, or Civ Discarder Crawler. Whatever we get, and we will generate lots of 7 power swarms. Okay, that's good for us. Oh, Hellcow, nice. Okay, so let's do it like this. Hellcow first will get rid of the Scarlet Witch. Then that here, and we can put Nightcrawler here for now. Don't have Angela, so it doesn't matter where we put him. Okay, so Hellcow will discard both, then we only will have swarms, and then that will be a lot of copies. Okay, that's nice for him too. So I guess we are playing the middle and not the right side. See how we almost accidentally played around his Tiger Spirit, but we will just flood the entire board with swarms right now. And I'm pretty sure we got this, so I'm snapping here. See how this Collector and Morbius are exploding, that is just insane. The double discard, oh my god. Holy shit. That is nasty. Wow. Okay, so Nightcrawler just is at 6. So the strongest card we have is Chavez. We'll put her here. And the swarms are stronger than the Nightcrawler, so we just do that. Holy cow, that is absurd. Alright. So again, we didn't really need Apocalypse. You see, it works really well. And I guess that's it. See you.